Right now, at this very moment, you're sitting in a room that pulses with invisible waves of information. Electromagnetic signals bounce off every surface, chemical messages drift through the air, magnetic fields flow through your body like an invisible river, and yet you sense absolutely none of it, Lee. But the cat sleeping next to you? She could be sensing an earthquake 3 days before it hits. Your dog? He might be hearing sounds from earthquakes happening 300 miles away. That spider in the corner of your ceiling? She's feeling vibrations through the web that tell her more about her world than your eyes could ever show you about yours. You think you know reality, but you don't. You think you understand your world, but you're experiencing less than 1% of what's actually happening around you. Every single day of your life, you're walking through dimensions of reality that would completely change how you see everything if you could just access them for one moment. Listen to this number and really let it sink in. You can see roughly 10 million different colors. That sounds impressive until you learn that birds can see 100 million colors. They live in a world where every flower has neon landing strips that are completely invisible to you, where every predator glows like a warning beacon, where the sky itself is painted with patterns you cannot even imagine. But here's what will really shake you to your core. Research from the Royal Society shows that birds with ultraviolet vision can see wavelengths as short as 323 nanometers. That means they're not just seeing more colors, they're seeing an entirely different universe that exists in the same space you occupy. Stand outside tomorrow morning and look at a flower. Know that you're missing 90% of what's actually there. You're seeing a black and white photograph while birds are seeing a high-definition movie in colors that don't exist in your brain. Right now, there's a snake somewhere in the world that can sense your body heat from 50 centimeters away, even if you're hiding behind a wall. Pit vipers have evolved infrared vision so sensitive they can detect temperature differences of just 0.003 degrees Celsius. That's like sensing the warmth of a candle flame from across a football field. Their heat-sensing organs contain 7,000 nerve endings packed into a membrane thinner than a human hair. They're not just seeing heat, they're painting detailed thermal paintings of everything around them in complete darkness. While you stumble around blind at night, these creatures are seeing the world in ways that would make our most advanced thermal imaging look primitive. But animals aren't just seeing differently, they're living in dimensions of reality that we don't even have names for. There are sharks swimming through our oceans right now that are following invisible highways made of magnetic force. These creatures travel 20,000 kilometers across empty ocean and arrive at exactly the same spot they left from. How? They're using the Earth's magnetic field like a GPS system that's more precise than anything humans have ever built. Scientists exposed bonnethead sharks to artificial magnetic fields in laboratory tanks. When they made the sharks think they were 600 kilometers south of their actual location, the sharks immediately turned north toward home. These animals are carrying a navigation system in their heads that can pinpoint their location anywhere on Earth, using magnetic coordinates we can't even sense. Think about that for a moment. While you need a smartphone to find your way to the grocery store, these sharks are navigating across entire oceans using senses you don't possess. And sharks aren't alone. Sea turtles memorize magnetic signatures like postal codes and can remember them for months after just one exposure. They're creating three-dimensional magnetic maps of the entire planet in their minds. Red foxes use magnetism as a targeting system for hunting. When a fox is about to pounce on a mouse buried under 3 feet of snow, it positions itself so the angle of sound matches the tilt of Earth's magnetic field. This gives them a 74% success rate when jumping north, but only 18% when jumping in other directions. They're using physics to hunt with deadly precision. If you think that's incredible, hit that like button, because I'm about to share something that will completely change how you think about sound itself. Bats flying through the night are creating three-dimensional images using nothing but sound waves. Their echolocation is so precise they can distinguish between objects separated by just 0.3 millimeters. That's 5 times more detailed than the shortest periods in their own sounds. They're essentially painting reality with acoustics, seeing the world in ways that are completely impossible for us to comprehend. Dolphins aren't far behind. They can detect objects over 100 meters away and adjust their sonar clicks dynamically as they approach their targets. They're having conversations in a language made of sound pictures that create images more detailed than most of our optical instruments. But here's where reality gets truly overwhelming. There are elephants in Africa right now having conversations across distances that would astound you. Their rumbles travel through solid ground at 248 meters per second for over 6 kilometers. They're not just talking to each other, they're tracking weather systems from over 100 kilometers away. When a thunderstorm forms 100 kilometers from an elephant herd, they know about it long before any human could detect it. The sound pressure levels from these distant storms reach exactly the frequency range elephants can hear. They're getting weather reports from storms that are 10 to 20 days of travel away. Picture this. While you're checking your weather app, elephants are sensing storms across vast distances through vibrations in the earth. They're living in a seismic world where the ground itself carries information across continents. And then there's the chemical dimension, a layer of reality so alien to us that it's hard to even describe. Male atlas moths can detect the scent of a female from 8 kilometers away. Some butterfly species can still perceive pheromones at distances of 10 kilometers. They're following chemical highways that crisscross the landscape like invisible superhighways, carrying messages about territory, danger, and potential mates. The precision is unbelievable. A male silk moth begins responding to female pheromones when there are just 1,000 molecules per cubic centimeter of air. That's like detecting a single drop of perfume in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. While you struggle to smell dinner cooking in the next room, these creatures are reading chemical novels written in the air across vast distances. But here's what should truly humble every human being on this planet. Animals can predict earthquakes. I want you to listen to this carefully because it challenges everything we think we know about animal intelligence. Scientists from the Max Planck Institute attached sensors to farm animals in earthquake-prone Italy. They monitored cows, sheep, and dogs for months, recording over 18,000 earthquakes in the region. The results were absolutely staggering. These animals began showing unusual activity up to 20 hours before earthquakes struck. When the animals were collectively 50% more active for more than 45 minutes, scientists could predict earthquakes with incredible accuracy. 7 out of 8 strong earthquakes were correctly predicted using animal behavior data. But here's what's even more remarkable. The closer the animals were to the earthquake's epicenter, the earlier they started behaving unusually. This is exactly what you'd expect if they were detecting some kind of physical precursor to the quake that we can't sense. In Japan, after the devastating 9.0 earthquake in 2011, scientists surveyed over 1,200 dog owners and 703 cat owners. They found that 18.7% of dog owners and 16.4% of cat owners reported unusual behaviors in their pets before the quake. Most of these behaviors happened within 24 hours of the earthquake, with dogs showing restless behavior, excessive barking, and wanting to stay close to their owners. But it gets even more incredible. In China in 1975, authorities evacuated the entire city of Haicheng based partly on animal behavior. Rats and snakes were seen motionless on roads, cows and horses appeared agitated, chickens refused to enter their coops, snakes emerged from hibernation and froze on snow-covered ground. Hours later, a 7.3 magnitude earthquake destroyed 90% of the city. This intuitive evacuation saved thousands of lives. Think about this. Animals that we consider dumb predicted a natural disaster that our most advanced scientific instruments couldn't detect. They saved thousands of human lives using senses we don't even understand. And here's what honestly should keep you awake at night. If animals can predict earthquakes, detect storms from hundreds of kilometers away, navigate using magnetic fields we can't sense, and communicate through dimensions we can't access, what else is happening in our world that we're completely blind to? Some researchers even speculate that animals might be sensitive to quantum phenomena, or maybe other physical processes we haven't even discovered yet. The sensory abilities we've already documented seem almost supernatural by our standards. Every day you're actually surrounded by a symphony of information you can't detect. Magnetic highways guide migrating birds overhead. Chemical messages drift past your nose, carrying complex communications between insects and mammals. Seismic vibrations pulse through the ground beneath your feet, carrying conversations between elephants continents away. The reality you experience through your 5 senses isn't wrong, it's just a tiny window into an incomprehensibly rich universe of information. We think we're the intelligent species on this planet because we've built technology and cities. But animals have been carrying technology in their bodies for millions of years that makes our instruments look like stone tools. They've evolved sensory systems that can detect quantum fields, navigate by magnetism, communicate through vibrations, and predict natural disasters. Every bee that returns to its hive is performing navigation that requires processing polarized light patterns across vast distances. They're reading information from the sky that creates a detailed map more accurate than GPS. When scientists exposed bees to artificially polarized light in tunnels, the bees could still determine their exact flight direction based purely on the light's polarization. They're living in a world where light itself carries directional information. Your dog isn't just your pet, he's a walking earthquake detection system with hearing that extends to 65,000 Hz compared to your 20,000 Hz. He can smell chemical changes in the earth that might indicate seismic activity days before it happens. That spider in your bathroom has sensors in her legs that can detect vibrations so small they would be impossible for us to feel. She's living in a tactile universe where every footstep, every breath of wind, every movement creates waves of information through her web. So, the cat sleeping on your couch can actually sense atmospheric pressure changes that signal storms days before they even arrive. Her whiskers are detecting air currents that tell her about weather patterns forming hundreds of miles away. We share this planet with creatures that experience reality in ways that would, fundamentally alter everything you believe about the universe if you could access their perceptions for just one moment. And this really raises the most profound question of all. If our most primitive fellow creatures can sense dimensions of reality we can't even imagine, what does that say about the nature of existence itself? What else is there in this universe that we're missing? Animals aren't just surviving in the same world we live in, they're experiencing layers of reality we can't access. They're receiving information from dimensions we don't even know exist, they're participating in conversations happening through channels we can't hear, seeing colors we can't perceive, and following maps we can't read. The next time you see a bird suddenly change direction for no apparent reason, or your dog becomes restless before a storm you can't yet see, or you hear about mass animal migrations that seem to have no obvious trigger, just remember this: they might be responding to information from dimensions of reality you cannot perceive. We are not the most aware beings on this planet. Honestly, we are sensory beginners living among masters. The universe is far stranger, far more interconnected, and far more information-rich than our human senses can comprehend. Every day we walk through layers of reality that remain completely invisible to us. Animals have been trying to show us this truth for millions of years. We just haven't been paying attention. But now that you know you can never look at the world the same way again, what do you think about this invisible universe surrounding us every moment of every day? Have you ever noticed animals acting strangely before natural events that you couldn't yet detect? Share your experiences in the comments below, because your stories might actually be evidence of sensory abilities we're only beginning to understand. If this changed how you see reality, share this video with friends who might be ready to have their minds open to the invisible dimensions around us. And hey, subscribe to Universal Insights to discover more life secrets and mysteries of the universe that challenge everything we think we know about existence. Because if animals can predict earthquakes, navigate by invisible magnetic highways, and communicate across vast distances through dimensions we can't access, then reality itself might be far more extraordinary than we ever dared to imagine.